business, one of the things you have to learn how to do is write emails and web copy and really be able to communicate what you do. But I had to tell you, there's something really unique about using the right words and having them come from your heart and doing it in a way that's so compelling and so engaging that it makes people want more, that makes them want to buy from you. And it kind of pushes away the people that really aren't the right fit for your business. Hi, I'm Melanie Benson-Strick, and I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer, and you're here for the Small Business Optimizer podcast. And every week we're covering some kind of a tip or strategy that will help you make little tweaks in your business, in the way you run your business, the way you market, the way you sell, so that you can actually make more money while working less. And today we're going to be talking about the part of marketing called copywriting. And I've asked somebody who I've known for a really, really long time to come and share some of her extraordinary insights and to help you maybe learn a little bit about making your own business work better from her own journey. So let me introduce you to Michele PW, also known as Michele PW. She's the best-selling author of the love-based copywriting books that teach you how to write copy that attracts, inspires, and invites. And as the owner of Creative Concepts and Copywriting LLC, which is a premier direct response copywriting and marketing agency, she guides entrepreneurs like myself in attracting more clients and boosting their business along the way. So we'll share with you in a little bit how you can find out more about the books and all kinds of great resources that Michele has to offer. But Michele, I'm just so excited to have you here today. You know, we go way, 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 way back.
Don't tell anybody how far back we go.
Okay. It's our secret. We won't give the exact date because I would actually reveal our ages and we're timeless. So.
Beginning of time.
Exactly. But, you know, I have to say I've learned a tremendous amount from Michele along the way. I've used her services. I was really grateful to have had a role in Michelle's early days as a business owner and her coach for a while. And she's just been this extraordinary, I would just say, pillar in the copywriting world for a lot of entrepreneurs who've turned to her for getting great marketing language to help attract the right clients. So it's really exciting to see you have turned that into a book, because you've been wanting to write this book for your entire life.
Practically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you. You were one of the people. I mean, I kind of grouped it in the dedication, several of them, but you were definitely somebody that pushed me to find a different way to write copy instead of this hypey, salesy way that they kept, especially, some of the seminars, which shall not be named, are kind of trying to force down our
the hardcore group.
The hardcore, yes, that's a good way to say it. The hardcore group.
Yeah, and I think there's so much I want to talk to you about today, but I think one of the things that really is maybe a theme for our conversation today is just because that's how it's always done doesn't mean it's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And by being willing to ask the right questions and to challenge assumptions and to look for a way that feels aligned, you actually brought forward a tool and a way of doing copy that is going to help a lot of entrepreneurs sell more and impact more people and increase their income, because the words they're choosing to use feel aligned with the work that they're doing in the world.
Yeah.
And that was a struggle of mine too, I will say, for sure.
Well, not only that, I'm also thinking that they not only will be more aligned, it'll work better, but also they'll actually use it. I mean, that's the thing. How many times have people been stopped because they can't stand the copywriting, so they just don't do anything? And so that's a problem too.
That's a great point, because there's a lot of times I've heard from people who I say, go get a copywriter. You don't write good copy. You don't want to have to learn this. You just go do it. And then they rewrite everything, or they kind of lose the impact and the emphasis because they're not comfortable with the language being used. So
exactly. Or they just decide not to send out some of the emails for whatever reason.
What does it mean to have love-based copy? What does that mean to you?
Well, where it came from was, and it's funny because one of the other things too that came out with this whole thing is that my self-development. Well, I mean, you should do personal. Now that I've gone through it, I think you should do personal development anyways. But it would have been a harder thing to convince me, because I was one of those people that I'll be happy to do personal development once I've made X amount of money, and then I'll have all this time. And even though my income kept going up, I never felt like I'd made enough money to actually do my personal development work until I finally just crashed and basically had no choice. But through the personal development work is where the love base came out, because I suddenly realized my friend Susan Liddy came out with love-based marketing, and I looked at that and thought love-based copy. And at that point I was thinking love-based and fear-based, and then it all just came together, because then I realized that traditional direct response copy is based on fear, and that's why it feels so yucky. In order to get people to take action, you have to trigger emotions. It doesn't matter if you're trying to sell them something or get your kids to go to bed at night. If you're trying to get somebody to buy in and take action, you have to trigger their emotions. Mm-hmm. You can trigger fear-based emotions or love-based emotions. All emotions go under one of those, as you know. So it's up to you which one you want to go under. You want to do love or fear.
And can you give an example of like a fear-based versus a love-based, just for anybody who might not be familiar with these concepts, so we can pull them along with us?
Well, yes. So fear-based, you see that a lot. One that we see all the times is, well, you're clearly not ready for this program, because if you were, you would snap it up. And so you're obviously not ready for success, or some variation of that.
Yeah.
That kind of real shamey, that's very prevalent, and especially prevalent, like if you actually, like if you're trying to decline from a high-end offer, depending on who you're declining from, you might get, really chased with some of those very shamey emails. And so then an example of love base is something like a couple of friends of mine who were doing they're in personal development, and they kind of took they took a different approach to it, which was more along the lines of this year is going to be, it was a year-long program too. It's like, this year is going to be, it's going to be your breakthrough year. But when you have breakthroughs, that means you're also going to have dips. So if you are not in a place where you can handle the dips, then don't do the program. Mm-hmm. So this might not be your year, and that's okay. But if it is your year, if you're ready to have a big breakthrough and you're willing to do what it takes, then come on in and join us. So do you see how different that is?
Yeah, and it feels different too. Like I feel like I'm okay, like I'm an okay person in one, and the other I'm like, I feel like a loser because I'm not ready to invest whatever that person's asking me to do. So really it's about how you make people feel with the copy. Sales copy, meaning the words you're writing in your emails and in your web materials and things like that.
Well, think about it. With the whole fear-based emotions, for so many people, what we normally do is we stuff them. We stuff them, we run away from them. We don't want to feel the fear-based emotions. So what's actually happening, it took me a while until I figured this out. When you actually trigger fear-based emotions in sales copy, you're actually triggering that pushing down or running away. So like in some cases, like if somebody feels bad, they might take a drink, like a drink of alcohol. In this case, what you're doing is you're actually triggering them to buy your product. So it's almost the same energy that they would have taken to take a drink or something else to stuff down that bad feeling. They're buying your product to make themselves feel better. So how on earth is that going to actually lead to their transformation if they're doing the same self-sabotaging behaviors getting into your program?
I'm also wondering, how does shifting the energy and the tone of your emails affect the longevity of your sales and return rates and retention? Have you seen, those different styles have a different impact on the lifetime value of a client?
That's what, so definitely, because, because if you do love-based, you have, you still might get, people that, I don't think you can ever completely get away from returns. Things happen, but returns and refunds are really, really go down when you do. And that's one of the things that I talk about, is that I think, overall, you might get more sales in terms of gross sales doing fear, because that, it is really easy to trigger people's fear and then to have them take action. But yeah, the refund rates are always higher when you do fear versus love, or they just drop out and don't finish the program, and don't come to you. Because I'm a big believer in how you bring people in is how you should set up your transformational program. So if you bring them in with fear, how are they going to trust you when they hit a dip or they're having a problem? They're going to be afraid that you're going to treat them the same way. But if you bring them in with love, now, they'll trust you. They'll be likely to come back to you. So I'm not saying that this is going to be 100%, because nothing ever is. But you're going to have far less people dropping out or disappearing, refunding, all of that other stuff. So over time, it's going to help your brand. Whereas I do feel like fear-based emotions will erode your brand over time.
Oh my gosh, I love this. And you know me, I've been willing to try different things over the years. I mean, it's been 15 years now, but the truth is, when you're using different fearful techniques and you're making the other person feel bad, you're not building a relationship I'm not building a relationship I want to have. Let me just say it that way. And I know there's a lot of people who, they kind of buy into that at first, and then they just feel so bad. It's like, I truly believe mentoring and transformation programs should be built on a foundation of trust, not on a foundation of being manipulated to make the decision and then feeling, like a shameful process, to learn and grow. Just, I don't know, just doesn't set well with me. So I love that you're bringing this out in the world. I think there's a new paradigm emerging about what it means to market.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah. I think so. And I think, what I really want to also say too, is that what I'm really about is the choice. So I'm actually really not here to say fear-based is awful. Although the way I describe it, you might think that's what I feel like, but that's actually not really what I'm trying to do. What I'm really trying to do is educate you.
Yeah.
So this is fear. This is love. It's your choice. So you can choose how you want to market and sell your business. The only thing that I would encourage you is that whatever you choose, do it 100% and don't slip into the other ones. If you're going to choose fear, then do fear. If you're going to choose love, then do love. But the worst thing that you can happen, I don't usually see it the other way, fear goes into love, but if you choose love and if your launch doesn't go well, you might slip into fear. And it's hard not to do that. But, and if you do that, so one thing is so if you do that and everything goes horrible, pick yourself up. It's okay. The world isn't going to end. You can try it again next time. But I will tell you that when you mix energies like that, it tends to not work. So starting with love and then slipping into fear is really bad. That's why it's better to make a complete decision. I'm going to do love and hang on to that, because you might be surprised. The thing is that maybe let's say, okay, you have a launch and you wanted 50 people buy something in the launch. And let's say you have 20 and you start freaking out and you want to slip into fear, which is very common. But what may end up happening is if you don't slip into fear is you'd get like a VIP client. So your income may be exactly what you would have had if you had 50 people instead of 20, but it just came to you in different ways. But if you slipped into fear, not only will you probably not get the other 50, you're probably not going to get that VIP client either. So that's the difference.
So how does the techniques around scarcity and, what many people would label fear or manipulative marketing, how does that fit into this concept of love-based marketing, the way you're presenting it to us today?
So I've thought a lot about that. And so my thing is truth. Is be honest. There's really nothing wrong with putting a deadline on something. I mean, we have to make a decision. It's actually not very love-based to just let people sort of, wander off in the ether and we have decisions we have sales at stores, the sale is going to end on this day. So I think that the problem is where the manipulation comes in is where the line. So if you're upfront, if you have a good reason for putting a deadline on, and you should have a good reason for putting a deadline on, then tell the reason and put the deadline on. So that's the real difference. So it's if you're going to use urgency, I only have 10 spots because you're giving away 10 calls with you. That's, that makes sense. You do only have 10 calls, but it's when you start, it's when you start making things up, 10 virtual products, that's the kind of stuff that people don't buy, and that's when they start to feel manipulative, because it is kind of manipulative.
Yeah. So again, it's about picking a way of communicating and following it through and looking at all the different layers of where you go into fear and how your copy turns into fearfulness and generating, inauthentic ways of communicating.
Yeah, exactly. And so a big thing too is I think just making sure you are in love as much as possible before you start to write your marketing, because the problem is that, and believe me, I was there, Melanie, you helped me through a lot of it. I mean, we've all struggled financially with our business. So as much as you possibly can, try to not be in that scarcity mode when you sit down to market or write copy or even just review copy that somebody else wrote, because because it's going to be really hard to stay in that love and abundance if you are in fear and scarcity. So, as much as possible, try to keep shifting that in yourself.
If you're a small business owner working way too much in your business, then you're not really putting your business to work for you. And you could benefit greatly by learning how to develop a team of world-class players to help you accomplish more and literally free you up to get more done. Now, we all want to shatter our income goals. We all want to be able to accomplish much greater results, but it's really difficult to do if you don't know how to delegate masterfully and be able to get the right things off your plate to the right people who will really get things done. That's where the power of the virtual team comes in. Be sure to get your copy right now at virtualteamebook.com. You know what I love is that I'm really big on the energy in which we make decisions for our business. I'm all caught up in my cord here. The energy that we make decisions from our business. And so this is just another example of how, if you're in a scarcity place and you're trying to write copy and, you're trying to communicate to people what you want them to do with you, that scarcity energy is going to carry forward. So there's a lot of power in doing the inner work to get your mindset in the right place, to come into the, possibility place instead of a limited place when you're getting ready to get in the right mindset to write. And, that's a very powerful thing. And, or make sure you have a copywriter if you're going to outsource. And I know that's one of the things you do for people, that you've got somebody who can really tap into that energy of expansiveness and love, if that's the direction you want to go with your marketing materials.
Yeah, and they should be able to do it. And the good thing about using a copywriter in that sense, if you find the right one, if you've got one who, there are copywriters out there that just absolutely won't write it like this. So I would make sure that they're comfortable writing this way. But the thing is that they aren't in scarcity over your business. so you don't have to worry. So just as long as they want to do this, that they're comfortable writing like love-based copy for you, they're not going to slip into scarcity around your business. So that is one thing to think about when you're this. I love that. Pretty unattached.
Well, and Michelle, there's so many. We probably have to do a part 2 and a part 3 to this one day, because there's just so much we've learned and grown together around. But I'm kind of curious, just in your own, in your own training and your own development and your path that you've traveled around your business, what was the point in which you really got, I need to shift the way, you've always been a really great writer and really, really powerful marketer. I can honestly say from, using the copy that you wrote for me many, many, many times over the years, that it made my sales so much easier. And the fact that you were going through those programs made it easy for you to write that. But, what was the point in your journey that you're like, this is what I need to do? I need to really shift gears and make a stand for this way of writing copy.
I never really liked the learning from the traditional direct response copy. So even though I did it and I learned from the masters, because there was no love-based copywriting.
Right.
So, and I was really trying hard, because I did respect them. And the thing is one thing to keep in mind with their mindset is they're not actually evil people. So I want to say that too. Just because they're selling fear doesn't mean they're evil. They're pragmatic. Fear works. They won't say fear works, but they'll say, this works. Do it. Stop reinventing the wheel. Make it easier on yourself. So on one hand, they actually have your best interest. The other thing they believe in is that the ends justify the means. So in their situation, just as long as you get people in your program, who cares how you do it? So I was never actually ever comfortable with either one of those. And it wasn't until it was 2012, November 2012, when I actually I'm a 6 on the Enneagram. I don't know if you ever had any Enneagram stuff, but the 6s are fear and worry. Yeah. I was a massive worry wart. And my inner world just crumbled. And so before then, I will tell you, so if you're in this too, so this is a little note, because I did actually start working on my self-development. That is why I hired Melanie. I think, what was that, 2007, 2006? Oh, yeah.
It might have actually been before that, but yes, it was somewhere in there.
It was a lot, yeah. So I knew then that I was standing in my way, and I was willing to do the work, the mindset work, to do that. But the thing is that if I couldn't see that the mindset tool is directly related to income, I wouldn't do it. So that's why I never meditated. That's why I would have never looked at this love base and fear base. I never would have done any of that because I didn't see a direct income to making more money. And so I would only do the things that said, like, if you do this, you'll make more money. Law of attraction, you'll this make more money. And it did work, but like I said, it didn't make me peaceful inside. And it just actually, if anything, increased my worry. So it was after kind of everything collapsed. I couldn't really almost function. And then at that point, I just kind of surrendered, and I just said, all right, well, whatever I need to work on, I need to work on. So I guess when I read the Enneagram, and I started working with I started working with a spiritual teacher. To capture that. She's the one that really kind of put me on this love and fear. And I remember the first time, and I'm listening to her, I was still kind of a mess, and she's going on, and I don't even know if I understood anything that she said. I was just kind of listening. But some of it I think got through, because then after I kind of broke my worry, I was able to finally start to see what was going on and see the inner peace. So the thing is that I do feel like if you just pick working on personal development tools that would do finances, it's almost like just doing, just running, just doing just being a runner and nothing else in your workout. And I don't know if you've seen people who just run. They've got really strong legs, and they usually got really skinny upper body. They don't look very balanced at all. They look very, especially like those marathoners and Olympic runners. I mean, they actually look awful. So if you want to actually look well, you'll lift weights everywhere, even if you don't see a direct correlation between lifting weights and being a runner. And that's kind of the way that I would look at this stuff. So it's kind of a long-winded thing, but I always knew that I didn't like copy, or I didn't like the traditional copy. I was always kind of looking for something else. I didn't know what it would be. And it was just kind of this happy collision because of this other path I was going on, that it all finally came together.
Yeah. Well, and what I know is that we all have a path we take our business through, right? And a lot of it has it's directly connected to who we are on the inside and what we're working through on the personal development level. And I actually find that our business is probably one of the best spiritual teachers on the planet.
Yeah.
Whether our business is doing well, whether our business is struggling, it's a complete reflection of our beliefs and our strengths. And so if you want to make your business work better, you have to make your inside, your mindset and your habits and, your way of doing things has to be strengthened in order to make your business perform better or to make your business easier. Some people, they're making really good money, but their business isn't very easy. And again, it's always a reflection of our own beliefs. So for you along the way, has there been like a pivot point? I know you had your big breakdown and that was a big moment for you in terms of changing the way you did things. But in the way you run your business, was there a point in which you're like, oh my God, if I do this and I get really good at doing this, my business is just going to get so much better?
Yeah, I actually, part of that was I started to figure out what I wasn't good at and what I was good at. So, I mean, I'm lucky because my husband is actually a really great manager. So that's probably, I know that you talk about teams and delegating. And the thing is that's, when I first started hiring a team, the first thing that happens is you're like, oh, yay, I don't have to do all this stuff. And you're all excited. But then like a couple months later, you might, you get more team and then you find yourself, wait a second, I'm still spending so much time, but you're managing them. And it's like, I'm not a manager.
Right.
But my husband actually joined as the COO, and I think he's going to be moving to CEO. And what his gift really is managing and really just doing that that foundational pieces. So that's really what, and I really got my head around, because that was the thing too, as you probably know, as entrepreneurs, like you still you want to do it all. You have done it all, even if you don't want to do it all, you still kind of do want to do it all. And so you have to really let go. And it's easier said than done. And so when the more I was able to start letting go, though, the better things happen. So yeah, that was really helpful to have somebody else in that was better, that was more talented at managing than me.
And, congratulations for recognizing that, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with that. It's like, okay, I don't have someone to manage, and maybe not everyone has a husband that can step into that role, but recognizing you don't have to actually be the executive leader, like the manager of people and projects, you can hire people to do that. You can partner with people. You can, bring in a family member if that's appropriate. I know when we caught up recently, we were talking about the interview you gave for the Virtual Team Building Secrets. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
The interview series, which we're resurrecting, by the way.
Oh, good. That was a great.
Yeah. We've actually had some people asking us to share that resource in an upcoming event I'm speaking at. So we're like, okay, well, let's polish it up and put it back out there again. But one of the things I remember you talking about was your own growth, like your own recognition of who you were when it came to leading teams. And I remember, do you remember the conversation about independence and like how you wanted independence?
Yes. Yeah.
And it was hard for you with teams. And so I think, you have to know who you are and you have to learn how to let go in a way that's constructive for the business overall.
Well, it's true. You don't want to just let go and have everything fall apart, which is what we were always afraid about.
Exactly.
But, so there has to be a minimum. Well, and, Allie Brown is the perfect example of somebody who did not have a husband who was going to step in and manage her business. I mean, she has Liz. So, I mean, she's a great example of how to do it when you don't have a family member.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was one of the other people in the interview series that, was a great catalyst for a lot of us to see, oh, look what happens when you build a team of virtual assistants.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually catapult. So if we look at the thing that you love to do the most, so all this letting go, all this releasing has to be because you get to do more of something that's important to you, right? What is that thing for you? What is the gold that when you spend more time doing it, it makes you feel happy, but it also makes your business better?
I think coming up with the books were really having that space to actually be creative and to think and to be kind of like step into sort of my philosopher energy, I guess. So, and because that's the problem. If you're running around doing, you can't be, and then you can't think and just really just really step into that as to all the stuff that I can share with other people, because I feel like that's part of it. And because I couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to write that book in fact, here they are. So we have, since this is a video,
hold them up and hold them still so we can see them there.
We have
props.
Nice. So.
I like props. Yes. And by the way, I've downloaded them and I am reading them and I find them extraordinary. I've always loved your writing, but well done.
Thank you. Yes, so they leave a review on Amazon, please, if you can.
Okay, will do.
So yes, I need to get more reviews. But I think that was, that really was that. I think that was really, because I don't think I could have had that download. I don't think I could have then gotten it written and all this other pieces to it to really step into that. Mm-hmm. And I think, and then that has been helpful because now I've got an opportunity to get on interviews and to really research it, which then, just grows the business that way.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't get that when you are in the doing mode and you're making all the decisions, you're figuring everything out, being creative, it's very hard to tap into that energy and do it well. And I am that person too. Like I can't go blah, 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 and then, oh, look at me, I'm creative. No, I have to get into space and I have to be in the right mindset to really activate that really creative, like energetically aligned. I mean, I can create in the moment, but if you want to go deep and you really want to pull that next big thing out, you got to have space for that.
You do. Yeah. There's no and I have so many friends, and you probably do too. I mean, it seems like every few years, it seems like every year somebody is birthing something big. Mm-hmm. And you can't, if you don't have any space to let that come out, then it's never going to work. And then chances are, if you don't let it come out, then you're just going to end up being frustrated and stuck in your actual, and what may end up happening, because that happened to more than a few of my friends, the universe will actually like shut down your client stream in order to force you to have more work, which of course is stressful in itself because then the money's not coming in. But
and then you go to that fear place again.
Exactly. So if you don't give room for it, if you don't consciously make room for it, the universe may decide to make room for it, and you might not like the universe's decision.
Yes, I would agree. I have been there. Yeah. So there's something I feel called to ask you. I don't normally ask this question, but it just feels really right. And that is, what do you think was that thing that you waited way too long to do, but once you did it, your business just blossomed because you finally did it?
Stopped worrying about stop referring to the business as me. This was really hard to do because and because I was so afraid. It's like, because copywriters, most people are like, you hire a copywriter. I mean, you don't hire a copywriting company. So for a long time, I kept I kept trying to straddle, but that's the problem. Straddling doesn't really work. As much as we keep trying it, and I'm sure I'll try it again, and then I'll come back and say it doesn't work. But typically, when you're trying to do both, you end up doing neither because it's just confusing. Mm-hmm. So, and the thing is, I was so deep in that story, I didn't even recognize the language. So like, it was my husband who kept pointing out to me, you keep saying me, I mean, there's just things that he kept pointing out to me over and over and over again and I was so, I mean, I kept thinking like, oh, well, I am doing it. And then the reflection I would get, no, I'm not. So, but once I was able to really step into, I have a team, I have project managers, I have writers, they've all been trained, they can do a great job, and it's because I have that I actually do have time to then, step into writing books and interviews, because otherwise I wouldn't have that space. And that's what really started to turn things around. And most copywriters, they don't want to be on interviews. They don't want to do that. They just want to sit in the corner and write. So it's really hard for them to get out anyway. So the fact that I like to do that, that means I probably should do that.
Mm. Yes. Love it. Yeah. And was there something you had to stop doing in order to make more room for that which is really making you happier?
I think, to stop doing, I think part of it was just, stop, I guess believing that, I don't know if this is really a stop, but it feels like a stop. I mean, it's just like trusting in the fact that if I made it very clear that people were hiring a team, it would all be okay. Yeah.
I do remember you having some concerns about that. And in my opinion, that was one of the things that really helped you keep your cash flow into six figures and beyond was, that freelancer up and down thing always kicks in when it's just you, right?
Yes, it always does. Because you either your time to market or you're busy with clients.
Yes.
Never, yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the expansion techniques is to hire people to, do pieces of the delivery or do pieces of the business that free you up. And, it's been wildly successful for you. Of course, there's always ebbs and flows, but, you've got a great client base. You've been hired with some of the big names over the years, and, you do great work, and now you're getting your books out. So well done.
Thank you.
Well done, you.
Yes, it was a hard, it was a long road. So I know it's just so all of you listening, I mean, it's so great, you hear this, and I know, because I get that too. It's like you sit there and think, oh, but it's like we're, some of us are just overnight successes that take 15 years. So wherever you're at is perfect.
Right. It's like, I want that. You don't realize, wow, that person was doing this for 15 years. That's how they got, or 5 years or whatever.
Mental stuff they had to get through.
Which is a great point. And, I say this a lot in the Money DNA community. So for those of you in Money DNA community, you've heard me say this over and over and over. And that is that you have to stop comparing where you're at with anyone else. Yeah. Because the truth is, you're not them. You don't know what went into it. You don't know if they really like what they have. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And, you don't even really know if they have what they say they have. So
that's true.
Your journey is your journey and their journey is their journey. And you can look at them for inspiration and say, hey, if they can do that, I can do that. If it feels inspiring to you. But the minute we start comparing where we're at to someone else, you're creating from a negative place, and it will not go well.
Exactly.
So thanks for bringing that little point to light, Michele, because I think many of us get caught up in that, oh my gosh, so-and-so's there and I'm not, and who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a long road, and I think about it. And another thing too is like my novel. I'm finally getting my first novel published. I mean, I wrote this novel over 10 years ago, and it was just sitting there. So, but I wasn't even emotionally ready to publish it until now. So, I know I'm more. So, and I'm bringing this up because I know as a writer, like I would always be, horribly jealous and envious when I saw somebody else come out with a novel. Not that happens very much in our community, but and I don't know if none of you might be, but you are. But it's like there might be something out there when somebody does do something, you get that little edge of jealousy, and just know that like I had sat in my desk drawer for over 10 years before now I finally was able to get it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it, really where we're at is a series of choices.
Yeah.
And if you don't like where you're at, then it's time to make a new choice. And it may be that you need to hire a coach, or that you need to make some changes to let things go, or you need to upgrade the behaviors and the actions that you're taking. So remember, wherever you're at, you're there from a series of choices, and you can make new choices.
Exactly.
So,
yes, that's important.
There you go. So, Michele, before we leave today, I would love to hear a couple things. One, I always like to find out, do you have a favorite quote or something that you say that inspires you?
Yes, it's the Einstein's definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, because it's something I typically have to remind myself when I'm really stuck in something like, why isn't this working? And then I think, okay, oh, that's right, I'm doing the same thing.
Well, you want to hear something really funny is the event we met at in the very beginning, however many years ago that was, when you decided to first work with me, I actually said that quote at the end of my talk.
Yes, I think maybe that would have been the first thing that I heard. So yes, because it probably was it, because that stuck with me ever since, because it's always what I go back to.
Yeah, because I had several people come up to me and like, I'm in that insanity mode.
Yeah, and that's what I think I felt.
So I love that that's a quote that still inspires you. So let's tell everybody how they can get the book, because first of all, if you're sending out emails and writing web copy or writing any kind of marketing collateral with language and words, I think it's really important you understand all the different ways you can communicate to get better results. So this is a great resource. Michele, how can people get their copy of it?
Okay, so the books are on Amazon, and you can get physical books, as you saw, or you can get a Kindle. And but you can get something for free too, which is my love-based copywriting template, which is at lovebasedcopywritingbook.com/template. And that template is free. Now, it works better with the book, but you have to go to Amazon to get the book.
Yeah, you kind of need to know what you're writing to put in the template, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and the template get you started, but there's just so much more in the book. And like this one, this is the love-based copywriting system. This is actually my system. So this goes through like headlines, features and benefits, and it's got the whole, it walks you through all the exercises and everything. And the other one is kind of the philosophy behind it. So they work really well together. But yeah, but to get started, at least if you want to just kind of, get a taste of it for free, it's lovebasedcopywritingbook.com/template.
Yeah. And I will put this out there. I think everybody should get a copy of the book, and it's very generous for you to offer the templates. And here's the thing. Sometimes this is not going to be a skill you're ever going to master, but you need to know what works and what doesn't for your community and for your offers. So it's important to do the work to research what style you want, but you may come to a point where you're like, I really wish I had somebody who could do this writing for me in the style that I want. And I will give massive kudos to Michele and her team. They write great copy. I know several people that are actively using them today, and I refer Michelle's company all the time. And I actively believe that, or I'm sorry, I intently believe that when you do not do something well is the time to outsource it so that you can get better results. So you can find Michele through the book, I'm sure. And Michele PW is michelepw.com is their website. So Michele, thanks so much for being here today. And if you could leave one piece of wisdom with our listeners today, something that you wish you'd known sooner, what would it be?
I mean, it's something I touched on, but I guess it is something I wish I known sooner, that I worked on all my personal development. I wasn't just so afraid that, because I mean, there were times where I remember like looking at a program, but it was kind of about, like one of them was like kind of an inner peace. It was like this 4-day retreat. And she actually gave me a free ticket to go, and it was got yoga and meditation, and I so wanted to go, but I was just like, no. I mean, I didn't see a direct income, and so I wouldn't let myself. But I feel like but I mean, maybe it is the way it is, but I wish that I hadn't waited so long to kind of break that worry and break that, which only happened because I really did embrace sort of, really going deep with spiritual and personal development.
Well said. And I would share that sentiment that, your business can only get better when you do the work to become a more peaceful and more confident person. So if you're worried about there being a direct correlation to the financial results, just know that there's not always a straight line between the work you do and the results you see. But I can guarantee you that if you don't do the work, your business will pay the price later.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's very true.
so you get to choose when you will make that a priority, when you're in chaos and the world's falling apart, or when you're ready to make the commitment to evolve and expand the impact that you can have.
Yes, that's true.
So thanks so much for being here today. And thank you for listening in. I know you've got some great little nuggets of wisdom from Michele. And as always, I'd love to hear what was an aha, or maybe, what do you love about the love-based copywriting book? Head on over to melaniebensonstrick.com. Or if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, you can always head over to the show page at melaniebensonstrick.com. All right. We'll see you guys all again next week for another really powerful episode of Small Business Optimizer. Bye for now.